is taking to the streets on Monday. They want President Cyril Ramaphosa to resign. Party leader Julius Malema says this is just the beginning of the revolution against the president to ensure he never has peace because he has violated his oath of office, according to the party. We're now joined by political analyst Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast to weigh through what we just heard from the past hour from the leader of the Red Berets. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Breakfast, for your time this afternoon. Maybe let's start with the tone, over the overall tone of the delivery of the message from the leader of the EFF, saying they are not for violence, but if somebody does step to them in an inappropriate way, then people should then respond.
Yeah, I think, there is a case to be made by the working class, largely because they are bearing the brunt of inequality, poverty, and unemployment. And those are the security threats which are posing a danger to our country. And the EFF represents that particular class. So I think the rationale behind the march is to articulate those aspirations of the people who are marginalized by the economy. But on the other hand, there are also other demands that they are making. I'm not sure if government will give in to those demands. The first one is, of course, the president has to resign. I think maybe the platform that they can use is parliament in terms of addressing that issue. We are not speaking on behalf of the president, but we heard the preliminary report that was laid bare by the public protector, clearing the president of any wrong doing. So that issue is still playing itself out in the legal space. So I'm not sure if they are going to win that political battle. But on issues of unemployment, poverty, inequality, the issue of power outage, I think a case can be made in that regard. And normally, social conflicts, expressions of social unhappiness. And I think, one of the psychological drivers of this is frustration. A lot of people are unemployed and they are really bearing the brunt of unevenness.
Speaking of psychological drivers, this perception that this march will be violent, which is something that the EFF has taken exception to, noting that they've had no previous incidents of violence or looting, them saying to businesses that there will be protesters so they can protect themselves and take the necessary steps to protect themselves. What do you perceive as the psychological driver of this perceived violence that will take place on Monday?
Nduzile, I'm glad that you've raised this question because inequality, poverty, unemployment, those are indicators of structural violence. That is called invisible violence. So violence doesn't have to be visible, whereby you assault people physically. So, when you're unemployed, you are also being subjected to violence. When you are experiencing racism, that is also violence. So I don't think that we must have a narrow definition of violence and pick and choose which approach we want to vouch for.
He also mentioned that protests have no formula. People should just gather where they are and meet at strategic points to express their dissatisfaction. He believes that what the Democratic Alliance has done in order to go to the courts to interdict the strike, the march, even though they approved the protests in the Western Cape, is nothing but a PR stunt to show that they're doing something to defend President Cyril Ramaphosa.
My view is that human beings have needs, and when their needs are not met, that creates a scope for conflict to happen. So I think the needs of the people over the past years have not been met, and that is making room for the conflict to take place, of course, in the form of a protest. So that is something that we cannot avoid. But on the other hand, in order for us to understand the posture of the DA, we need to understand the philosophical outlook of the DA to politics. The DA is a liberal party, and the lifeblood of liberalism, besides freedom, is a human rights in particular the right to private property or the right to own private business. So they speak from that point of view in terms of defending the interests of owners of the means of production. No wonder they are hell-bent to put the protest on hold.
Thank you very much to Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, a political analyst.